Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie O'Leary. Been about 2 weeks since the last episode came out. Not a whole lot of news, but we're going to cover what has happened in the time between then and now. Richie was at another hoops practice today, so he's got his second practice report for you guys to go through. Some recruiting updates. We'll talk a little NCAA football, I'm sure, or CFB 25. Richie and I both got the game early and have played quite a bit of it between the two of us, so we'll talk about that. But first, as always, this podcast is presented to you by Night and Day Apparel. Beat the heat this summer with our hot, one-of-a-kind products. The temperature's rising. There's no better time to refresh your wardrobe, cool and stylish summer essentials. Whether you're planning a beach getaway, picnic in the park, or simply lounging in the yard, we've got you covered. Visit their website today and explore a full range of summer essentials from pool floats and spatulas to bathing suits and tank tops. If you use our promo code Rutgers Rivals, that's one word, Rutgers Rivals, you can get 10% off your purchase, and you can use that coupon as many times as you want. So tell your friends, shop now, and keep chopping.
Yeah, I guess you could put the little hashtag Night and Day RU, get like tagged, and probably go on their Instagram or whatever. So cool.
Yeah, they got great stuff, and the pool floats, the block art pool floats are back. So if you are looking for one for the rest of the summer, whether you're in a pool, going out in the bay, whatever your water foray is, hanging on the lake, definitely need to get that.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so second hoops practice of the summer for you. Obviously, the first one, they were only together in the first week. I think you went to that Friday's practice. What's the biggest difference between that first practice you saw and the second one in your eyes?
The guys just look like they're a little bit more in shape. We talked to Pikel post-practice. He basically hinted that yesterday they were doing a lot more of 5-on-5. Like, I didn't get to see any 5-on-5 work today, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. It said yesterday's practice was really like basically a gauntlet compared to today's practice, so it wasn't as long, but they're definitely shooting the ball a lot better. I got to see PJ Hayes for the first time ever because last time I went to see him, he was a little banged up with a shoulder bruise, but he's perfectly fine. Just going through this starting rotation today, technically. In the red, it was Jamichael, PJ, Ace Bailey, Martini, and Emmanuel. And then the black jerseys, it was Jeremiah, Durkak, Dortch, Grant, Somerville. But like I said, there wasn't any 5-on-5 practice, but J. Mike looked really good filling in for Tyson Acuff, who was on his scooter, I guess they call it, rolling around the gym. But yeah, J. Mike has taken advantage of those minutes. I thought he looked really good on offense. I thought he looked better handling the ball. I thought he looked really good shooting the ball too, whether it be from mid-range, from deep, even from like the little bit of the elbow or even the block. Like, he just looked really good shooting the ball, looked comfortable. I thought Ace had some struggle shooting. He had a windmill early on in practice, and that's it's almost like you see it every time now, and it's just every time you see it, you're just in awe, like just nonstop. It's crazy to see his athleticism. He looked like he gained a little bit of weight, and Pikel confirmed that afterwards. He's actually up to like 205 right now. He probably doesn't look it based on like the photos and videos you see, but he's 6'10", so 6'10", 205. They probably want him around the 210, 215 range when games start in fall. But I thought overall the practice was pretty much the same for the most part. I mean, obviously some pieces switching in and out between I'm trying to think, between Durkak playing a little bit more, between J. Mike playing a little bit more, between PJ playing a guard role now. So yeah, I mean, for the most part though, it looked kind of the same.
Yeah, so Rutgers men's basketball's YouTube page, they released a summer scrimmage highlight tape from, I believe it was Monday's practice, Tuesday's practice. I forget which one. It was about 3 minutes, and yeah, J. Mike, I was surprised at how much run he was getting, and maybe that's just because he just had a great day. But if you're saying he had another great day, it seems like he's primed to take a big leap because he was really finishing well around the basket in this highlight. He had a buzzer beater from 3, taking the ball up from the opposing end line. So yeah, great to hear about J. Mike because he was at times last year one of the only guys who could make a shot, especially in the mid range. I know one of the concerns from early on was Steve Pikel said a lot of the guys need to get in shape, and he said Lathan Somerville's name in particular. What did you see? Did you see a big difference between then and now in terms of Lathan's, I guess, fitness? I wouldn't say fitness level. It's,
You can argue fitness.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
sure.
I'd say he was pretty not in shape. He definitely wasn't out of shape, but he wasn't in shape either the first practice. This practice, he looks like he slimmed down a little bit. He looks a little more comfortable out there. He's running up and down the court with ease, it seems like. Um, yeah, he moved a little bit better today. I was really impressed with his shooting. His mid range game is right there with most of the guys on this team. Now, I'm not going to say he's Zach Martini, who's like phenomenal from just about anywhere. He's not PJ Hayes, who was absolutely lights out today, and we'll get to that. But I would say his mid range game is pretty good. And then he also hit a couple threes today, and I was like, oh damn, like Lathan can stretch the floor quite a bit. He is your prototypical stretch big man that I don't know if Rutgers has really ever had. And then you put Emmanuel in, and it's the complete opposite player. It's a guy that's going to dominate down low, whether it be on the boards, putbacks, all the little stuff, rebounding. But yeah, no, I mean it's kind of insane just how different these two are, and they're going to rotate in and out, of course, all season long.
Yeah, I know the two biggest question marks from this offseason were what is this offense going to look like, or what is
Mhm.
this team going to look like without adding a center, and how is this going to look in terms of the shooting because they've added a ton of shooters this offseason. Let's talk about the first question first. What did the big man situation look like in practice? Were they running a lot of five out? Were they trying a bunch of things? I saw a bunch of clips from that practice highlight of Emmanuel getting easy dunks. What did you
Mhm.
see out of the big men today?
Yeah, so Emmanuel is like I said, he's going to be like a prototypical. He's almost like Quiff in terms of play style. He's not as athletic as Quiff, but he's massive and he's bigger than Quiff. He's going to be able to bully some people down low. Now, I don't think he's going to be part of most offensive sets. I think his job at the end of the day is just going to be like, hey, go out there, rebound, block some shots, and just kind of get in the way basically of opposing players. Defend that paint as well as you can. And then Lathan's game is just totally different. Lathan can kind of sit at the free throw line. He could be a facilitator because he has really good passing skills, because he has that guard skill set that he grew up with. He can shoot, number one. You can put him out five wide at times, but he'll also play on the down low at times because he's bulky enough. He's very shifty around the rim, too. Now, he's not going to be able to go up and jump as high as like Emmanuel does, or as high as Cliff did, and kind of put guys on a poster, but he's very shifty and very crafty around the rim. I think it's interesting when you have one of them out there, and then it's like, all right, this guy's just doing that. Then you switch it completely up, and it's like, oh, this guy can kind of do just about anything out here, whereas this one's just going to stay here. So it's going to be unique. It kind of changes both times, but for the most part, they rotate between the block and the elbow and the free throw line, and that's pretty much it for the big man stuff.
All right, so let's talk about these shooters. You referenced Martini, you referenced PJ Hayes. You said they did a lot of shooting drills today. What do
Mm-hmm.
you take? What do you make of the additions and what this team's shooting is going to look like, especially from deep this upcoming season?
Those two specifically are like ultra competitive. They'll do whatever it takes to win. PJ Hayes, it gave me a little bit of a flashback to Cam Spencer. Now they're different builds, of course.
Sure.
PJ is a little bit thicker, a little bit taller, but like PJ Hayes at one time it went 10 of 10 from on the 3-point shooting drill. Then I proceeded to keep watching him because I heard him scream, and he's like yeah, like fuck yeah, and it's like, oh, there's that little Cam Spencer juice you got there. And I hate to mention him, I know he left, but he did have that one good year with Rutgers. But it was more of a pressure drill too. It was just like catch, shoot, go, catch, shoot, go, catch, shoot, go, and he went 10 of 10 the first time. He went 9 of 12 the second time. Then they rotate between the wings and between the corners, and this man is just, his shot is perfect every time. His form is perfect. It's a quick release. It's right at the top of his shot. Very fluid motion when it comes to shooting. Then you watch Martini, and it's a little bit different in terms of shooting style. But it's still able to go in, and it doesn't matter because he gets it out quick enough. He doesn't put it down low and come back up. He just keeps it right there and just pulls. But they're both really good. I actually found it funny. Pike just literally calls. I know people have said he reminds people of Zebo, but Pike actually calls him Zebo all practice long. I think those two are going to be difference makers when it comes to shooting. I would be shocked if PJ Hayes doesn't shoot at least 40% from three. I think that, I know I'm probably shooting a little bit optimistically, but I think he's just phenomenal. Like, you could spot him up. He's got the confidence to take you off the dribble and create a little bit of space, and he doesn't need much space either. Like, there's a guy in front of his face, and he's still pulling and still hitting. The shooting is just going to be very, very good for this team, between those two specifically, I should say.
Any other takeaways from today that you wanted to touch on before we talk about some other topics?
I talked about Lathan. I'm reading my notes real quick. Ace had some shooting struggles today, specifically on the outside, which is fine, but it's crazy. When he takes a set shot, like it looks like he's uncomfortable. When he takes like the craziest fadeaway, like 1-footer off platform shots, he nails them, and I'm like, what the fuck? It makes no sense, but. Jeremiah Williams was very vocal today. I actually found it interesting, and this is like a captain-like asset. Like in the middle of the drill, like Pike will be like saying something to the guys and be like, "You got to do it this way. You got to do it that way." As soon as that drill ends, he walks right over to Pike and he's like, "Okay, if I do this and he does this, and what if we do this?" And it's just little stuff like that, and that's that captain mentality that's kind of shining from him. You see it a little bit from Martini as well, but I'd be shocked if Jeremiah Williams isn't the leader / captain in the locker room of this team this season. Other things that happened, Dortch and Grant, I don't want to say one of them is going to redshirt because it's so unlikely to redshirt, but they just have the same type of role, the same type of play style. I think Grant has the advantage in terms of playing time there, just for the sole fact that he has the size advantage, whereas Dortch is a little bit skinnier. Grant's more of a rebounder / athletic wing type that can defend as well. And then they ended practice with a pressure cooking like free throw drill, where it was just like 3 guys they picked, and everyone picked teams, and it was Martini, PJ Hayes, and J Mike. And almost everyone, I was a little shocked. Almost everyone voted against Martini to win it all, and he didn't. He finished second, but J Mike finished third, Martini finished second, and then Hayes actually won the thing. But you could just see the mentality between these guys and the team camaraderie, I should say. They're just all very close with one another. And I think that's part of having a lot of veterans on this team. I know they're all new to each other kind of still. It's only been, 2 months, a month and a half.
Yep.
But you could just tell these guys are very close with one another. And then last but not least, obviously, Dylan was there at practice. Looked a lot better walking around. He was in full gear. He had a workout this morning with Rich Van Dyke. So he's been working out in the weight room. We saw him sneak a shot or two at the end from 3, and he looked fully healthy. So that's good. I mentioned Acuff was also there on the scooter. He's still working his way back. That foot is wrapped up like heavily, but I'm told both should be good to go for training camp in September. And that's really it. The only thing I found interesting is Dylan still wears Nikes, and I know he's sponsored by Nike, but I don't know if you're allowed to do that in practice since he wasn't practicing. I don't think it matters, but the purple Kobe's he had on, though, beautiful.
Yeah, I know that there was some talk that players potentially could choose their footwear in the near future. I don't know if that's going to be for this season or not, but there is rumbling that could be down the pipeline at some point. The one basketball related topic I wanted to bring up, it's not about the team. They offered a new 25 today, and he's a pretty famous, or not today, recently, pretty famous name, Kiyan Anthony of Long Island Lutheran. He was the same team as VJ Edgecombe and Nigel James. Also, Carmelo Anthony's son. Rutgers offered him after he went off at Peach Jam. Rutgers was in attendance at Peach Jam. I think he's a top 30-ish prospect. Wouldn't surprise me if he elevates himself to 5-star status based on some of the stuff you were telling me. What's the word on the offer for Kiyan Anthony from Rutgers?
So, talked to some people today following practice. It's going to be a hard one to land because he is a Syracuse lean. I actually have a future cast in for Syracuse for a while now. And that makes sense. Carmelo, Syracuse, championship guy, blah, 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 all that other stuff. And I think he's pretty close with, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Audrey. I forget how to pronounce it, but that's the head coach over at Syracuse. Besides the point, it does sound like Rutgers has a shot. I won't say it's a legitimate, 50% chance. I won't even go that high. I'd say it's probably lower than that, but they have a shot at least. And that has to do with his representation in terms of agencies. And that's Rock Nation Sports. I'm told Rock Nation has a little bit of a good relationship with Rutgers. And that stems from Dylan Harper, who's signed with them. From what I was told is they're high on Rutgers because Rutgers does things the right way. They reach out to the right people, whether it be the agents themselves, the advisors, or someone at Rock Nation. And you kind of hear that from football and basketball alike. It's not like when you're recruiting a kid, you don't just recruit the kid. You don't just recruit him and his his mom or him and his dad or him and both parents, or you have to reach out to everyone. And Greg's been adamant about this in the past. He would reach out to the kid. He'd reach out to the kid's best friend. He would reach out to the teacher. He would reach out to the gym teacher, the English teacher, the principal, and kind of get a feel for what the kid is like, because if he's going to fit in your culture or not. Because at the end of the day, culture is the biggest thing you can it's one of the biggest factors when it comes to recruiting. If a kid's not a good culture fit, it could ruin your entire culture for that year. So it is interesting that that I've heard that from Rock Nation. Now, Rock Nation represents the top of the top, the cream of the crop, in terms of athletes. So this would be a hell of a relationship to start keep building on. Now, like I said, I don't think they'll land Anthony, but got to be in it to win it.
Absolutely. And given that he was future cast so long ago for Syracuse and it hasn't happened yet, it's not necessarily it doesn't always mean that it's not going to happen, as we've seen with you putting that future cast in for Dylan, like in May, and he committed in December. But there's some legitimate questions as to why it hasn't happened yet, and it's probably because he's continuing to raise his profile as a prospect, getting out of his dad's shadow and becoming more of his own player. So more to come on that and the rest of the 25 class. Rutgers currently does not have a commit in the class, but that will change, I'm sure, in the near future, and we'll have you covered on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's transition to some football talk. You were privy to some information about some nuggets about the football team in terms of how certain players are looking. What is your latest scoop on a player report for the current Rutgers football team?
Let's see. Let's go through all the positions real quick. Quarterback, it's the same. Running back's the same. Wide receiver, it's going to be interesting. Now, Dymere Miller isn't coming here to sit the bench. He's too good. I think he actually just got the fastest rating in college football for the wide receiver room, or for starters among the wide receiver room, I should say.
On the Rutgers team, you mean?
On Rutgers team, yeah. Because the fastest overall was, I think, Braithwaite. It's 96 overall, 96 speed. But besides the point, Dymere Miller is going to start. Christian Dremel is going to start. It's that third spot, which is really intriguing, and we're going to see how this plays out in camp. It's going to come down to camp because Ian Strong's right there. We saw Nassim Brantley show some flashes this season. He's also going to be a tall red zone wide receiver threat for them. Trying to think who else. Oh, Benjamin Black can rotate between the inside and outside. We saw him in this. Well, we didn't see him in the spring game. We saw him in spring rotate between inside and outside. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of where they go with that, because Benjamin Black's shown a lot of flashes. Now, of course, Ian Strong has shown some real deal flashes last season, specifically the first game of the season when he had that toe tapping catch. I don't really know where that one's going to go. I know previously I've said Brantley, and I still might give him the nod for the sole fact he's the veteran of the group. He's done pretty well at the lower levels, but I think Ian Strong could win that job too. But either way, they're going to rotate receivers. Tight end, it's the same group it's always been. I expect Kenny Fletcher there. Offensive line, I've heard some rave reviews about this offensive line, specifically in the weight room. They're a lot stronger than last year. They're a lot meaner and beefier than last year. The group's interesting too, for the sole fact that I've heard Tyler Needham made some strides. And he was your starting right tackle last year. And I know they brought in Shedrick Rhodes Jr., and he can kind of rotate between guard or tackle. I know he's played both at where the hell was he? Ohio. So you can kind of pick and choose there. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Asamoah probably wins the guard job, but if you want a little bit more of a veteran presence, you put Shedrick Rhodes at guard, you put Needham at tackle, and kind of rock with that. Or you can go vice versa and put Asamoah at guard and Rhodes at tackle. But it's nice because you're going to be able to rotate linemen for a change. I know they've always said they want to get like 6 to 7 linemen that they rotate in and out. I think this year they legitimately have some veterans along this group, along a very talented group. And I think they're going to make leaps and bounds from where they were 2 years ago. I think they're going to take a leap from last year. And I thought they were one of the better teams at the offensive line last year. Or I should say, in terms of Rutgers quality offensive lines, because we've seen some bad ones. But and then Tyreen Powell. Tyreen Powell is recovering. He's still on track to recover. He'll be at Big Ten Media Days early next week. I think Rutgers is on Monday or Tuesday, 23rd, I believe. I got to double check on that, but he'll be there. He'll probably offer an update on his injury status, but I'm told he's right on track. Should be good to go for the season. He's telling people he's very adamant that he's going to play game one. It's you can if you want, but it's Howard. So I don't want my star linebacker playing against Howard and God forbid tweaking anything, knock on wood. But I would say just maybe take it easy game one, maybe even take it easy game two. Take that, but you got to get some reps just to shake off that rust ahead of that Virginia Tech game, because this Virginia Tech team is being talked about as a playoff sleeper. They're ranked in the top 25 by a lot of people, and it's away. It's not home anymore, so it's going to be tough.
Yeah, Rutgers really got fortunate at the timing of some of the teams they played last year, primarily Northwestern and Virginia Tech. Northwestern breaking in a new quarterback, Virginia Tech breaking in a new quarterback. Rutgers faced both guys the first game that they started for their respective teams, and then they went on to have much better years. I think literally after the Rutgers Northwestern game, Northwestern finished the season 8-5, so they went 8-4 after that game. I believe the second half, or I believe after the Rutgers game, Virginia Tech also went something like 6-2 or 6-3. So they finished strong. They're going to be tough. At least Virginia Tech is going to be a much tougher team this year in year two of Kyron Drones and Brent Pry, I believe, in his third year in charge of Virginia Tech. So not going to be a walkover, especially in that building. But one caveat, Rutgers does have a bye before that. So you got to hope, Shiano historically has been very good with extended time off. So just got to hope that streak continues. But yeah, not an easy game by any means.
No, not at all.
So that's kind of the roster nuggets update. Rutgers also has a big recruiting event at the end of the month. It's their annual recruiting barbecue that happens at the end of July. You have a short list so far of guys that have confirmed they're going to be there. That list will continue to grow. But talk about some of the early names in the class of 2026 who are already scheduled to be on campus.
So obviously Gavin Sidwar is going to be on campus, the 2026 quarterback commit. I expect some of the 2025 commits, if not all the 2025 commits, to be there as well. I don't usually list them because that class is like done. But if you want, you could probably just copy paste the entire commitment list and just be like, here, they're going to campus. Maybe with the exception of one of the like maybe 1 to 2 to 3 of the further guys, like the Florida kids mostly, but besides the point, Dysere Carter, wide receiver from Virginia, top 150 kid in this class, is going to be up on campus. He's pretty high on Rutgers. I just posted an article Monday? Yeah. With him, he talked about Rutgers and Penn State as his top two right now. Rutgers running backs coach, Demir Shaw, it was his brother's former wide receivers coach at Fordham. So there's a little bit of a connection there. He's been to campus like 5 or 6 times already. He's very high in the program. They just done a really good job of recruiting him. I'm told Dave Brock's NFL ties have played a big role as well. And it's an easy sell when you can kind of just, hey, you remember Julio Jones? Remember that guy? Like I coached him. Remember Mohamed Sanu? Hey, he was here actually. I coached him. So you can kind of just pick and choose from that Falcons wide receivers room with Dave Brock. But Elias Koch's coming over from Pennsylvania, 4-star athlete at Harrisburg. Tend to think he's probably going to go elsewhere, but again, got to be in it to win it. And they got him on campus a couple times already. To get him on campus again is huge. And then Chris Hewitt, athlete out of Calvert Hall. Dad is the Ravens. I don't even know what his position is anymore. It was running backs coach, but I don't think it is any. Maybe it is still. But yeah, his uncle's Matt Hewitt, coaches at Rutgers. His dad coached at Rutgers under Shiano. He's been to Rutgers a bunch of times. He also plays 7-on-7 ball with Gavin Sidwar. So definitely a couple names early on just to keep an eye on. That list is going to grow exponentially over the next couple days, probably even, because that barbecue is the 26th or 27th. I forget which day. But yeah, they always have a pretty good list going on there. So we'll just stay tuned on the round table for the latest.
Yeah, some pretty big names already confirmed. Obviously, Dysere Carter, you talked about the relationship there, but he's a top 200 kid in the country, and Rutgers is currently arguably in the lead for him. Obviously, Sidwar's already committed. Chris Hewitt's a 4-star. There's a lot of talent that probably will be on campus with all that momentum from the 25 class from last season. Wouldn't surprise me at all if 26 tops 25. Just a gut feeling. Nothing I'm hearing specifically, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a bit of a grab bag for the last few topics. So we had previously recorded that Rutgers was closing in on adding an assistant coach for the wrestling program. That seemingly has fallen through. Let's first talk about the assistant coaching vacancy for the Rutgers wrestling program.
So I guess we could say it now since it fell through already. Coach Schneider, the associate head coach from Nebraska, was the name I was told to keep an eye on. He was on campus for a couple days a week or two ago. I forget what it was. I think it was 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago? I don't know. Whatever. Besides the point. He heavily molded over, and he's from Pennsylvania. He's got a lot of ties to the Pennsylvania area, recruiting-wise. He's considered, I don't know how to put it in college football terms, Fran Brown of Pennsylvania. I guess we could say that. He was a very good recruiter in that state, but he decided to stay in Nebraska. He is the head coach in waiting, I'm told, at Nebraska, and that plays a factor. He probably would have been the head coach in waiting at Rutgers as well, is the word on the street. But his wife is from Omaha. They've been there for, I don't even know how long at this point. I think it's been like 10 plus years, and they just didn't want to uproot their lives and just move back to the East Coast. Well, I shouldn't say for her, but for him, back to the East Coast. So he's just going to stay there, and that's fine. It is a little bit of a kick in the nuts because there was some feeling among the program that he was going to join the program and be potentially their next head coach down the line. So now they got to look elsewhere. We've been told Molinari has some interest in the job. That was prior to the Schneider news coming out. We've also been told
Frank Molinaro.
Yeah, yep. Frank Molinaro. And then Coleman Scott, there was some interest in the job. It's to be determined if he wants to get back into it so quickly after being, quote unquote, I guess you can say let go or left the Oklahoma State program. I think he technically left on his own terms, but it doesn't matter. He would be a home run hire too. I think Schneider would have been the grand slam, but Coleman Scott would be a damn good home run hire. So they're just kind of waiting and seeing. I know as soon as Schneider said no, we posted on the boards. We gave everyone the update. The minute he said no, they were already kicking things in the high gear with other guys, other names. There's technically still Sebastian Rivera who's going to decide after the Olympics, but I think that decision's more between joining Columbia's staff with Donnie or just staying with SKWC and working out as their main guy right now because he's the only All-American they have under contract or under resident athlete, whatever it is. So, yeah, just kind of waiting and seeing. That's all we got for the moment. As soon as I hear more, we'll be posting it on the boards.
Awesome. Next, the MLB draft was this past week. Rutgers had 4 guys drafted in the draft. JKG went in the 3rd round, the first pick of the 3rd round to the Oakland Athletics. That makes it 3 Scarlet Knights drafted in the last 2 drafts by the Oakland A's. Donovan Zach got drafted in the 8th round by the Cleveland Guardians. Justin Sinibaldi was drafted in the 14th round by the Chicago White Sox. And Tony Santamaria was drafted in the 19th round by the Tampa Bay Rays. So just wanted to shout out all those guys. The baseball program had a ton of talent this past year. They just couldn't put it together on the field. And I think this team should continue to rise under current coach. But yeah, so big shout out to the baseball players who got drafted this past week.
I know some people have asked on the boards, are these guys all going to leave? Are they all going to stay? Well, number one, I'd be shocked if Josh didn't leave. That's number 76 overall, 77 overall?
That's a good caveat. Just because you're drafted in the MLB draft does not mean that you are leaving college. This is typically used as leverage. So JKG has 1 year left. Donovan Zach has 2 years left. Sinibaldi and Santamaria are out of eligibility. Mm-hmm. And so, or maybe they have a COVID year, but it's saying 4th year senior here. So these guys, they basically can negotiate what their signing bonus would be in the MLB draft. And if they decide, now I'm good, I'm going to stay in college, they can return for, they could get drafted multiple times. They don't have, you don't lose their eligibility because they get drafted is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So JKG's got to be gone. I'd be shocked.
Yep.
Donovan Zask, that sounds about right. His pick is valued at $220,000. I got to think he's probably gone. After that, that's where it gets interesting. Like, I know some people have said, like, well, what is Santamaria going to do? Like, can he come back and have another season and try to raise his draft stock even more? I'm like, I don't know if he can raise his draft stock anymore. Like, he had a hell of a year. That's probably, bat at 324, 14 homers, 55 RBIs, 13 stolen bases, 1.022 OPS. Like, Those are like all like phenomenal numbers coming off an injury, mind you, in 2023. So I'd be shocked to see him return, to be honest, but there's a chance, I guess. And then Justin Sinibaldi's the one that could probably go either way. He had some good numbers this year as Rutgers ace. He was obviously the ace, so he would probably get some kind of NIL, I would assume. But I don't know what that NIL would be compared to a 14th round pick. I don't know the slot of what that's worth, that pick. I would probably assume it's probably around like 100,000 or something like that. But that one could go either way. But the other three, I'd be shocked if they didn't end up leaving.
Yep. I agree with everything you said. But still glad that these guys are getting drafted. It's better to have guys that teams want than teams don't want.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
The last thing I have here is we're currently in the midst of pulling together some fan stories for a podcast project. We want to hear how you became a Rutgers fan, your favorite Rutgers story. Just we want to pull together as many as possible. We have a site called SpeakPipe. It's basically an online voicemail system. We want to hear your stories. So if you want to be a part of this project, we're dropping a link in the show description. It's just speakpipe.com/Rutgers Rivals. There you can record your message. We'd love to hear your stories. We want to include you in the project. So if you have a story that you want to share, drop it in the voicemail line, and we will include you in the project. It'll just be an episode with a bunch of select Rutgers fan stories that we've recorded. So we're really excited about it because people have asked us for our stories. So we're also going to include ours as well. But we'd love to hear yours and be a part of it.
Yeah. I do have to say one thing before we sign off. I have to give a shout out, and I don't know what the guy's name was, but I'm sitting at the pizzeria the other day with my girlfriend over in Ford. Strawberries Pizza, by the way. Pretty solid if you're in Middlesex County. I'm going to let you guys in on a secret, too. If you go there, it's called the Special. Just order the Special. It's just 2 slices and a beer for $5. You won't find that anywhere else.
What? That's
what I'm saying. That's great. But anyway, this guy walked out. Or I shouldn't even say walked up to me. I'm sitting there with my girlfriend, and she's like right in front of the doorway to go in and out. And I'm looking at her, and then there's like this guy that just like peeks behind her head, and he's like, and I'm like, hello, how's it going? He's like, Richie, that's you, right? And I'm like, yeah, how's it going, man? Like, sick R tattoo on his bicep. Keep chopping. I mean, that has to be there from the 06 season at least, right? 07, you would think right after. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't get his name. He does say he listens to all the pods, so I'm sorry I don't have your name to shout you out, but shout out to you and your buddy, big Rutgers guys. Love the support.
Yeah, you've told me quite a few stories about getting recognized out in public. It's
celebrity.
It's been interesting, yeah, for sure. But we want to thank you all for your patience. I know we've had a few messages about people wondering if you're all right because we hadn't put out a show. I think it's the longest we've gone without putting out a show. But honestly, there's just not a whole lot to talk about. I've been my brother's bachelor party this past weekend. But this is right around the time where things are going to start ramping back up.
Yep.
Training camp's right around the corner. I know you've said that hasn't come out yet, but do you have a firm date for when training camp's set to kick off?
I was told today the 29th, but then I was told from someone else the 30th. So technically, I think camp kicks off the 29th. I think we will be allowed on the 30th because they usually allow us like Tuesdays, Thursdays, or something like that.
Okay. So either Monday the 29th or Tuesday the 30th of July will be the commencement of training camp for football this year.
Yep.
So exciting. It's 2 weeks away at the most. So we are really pumped to give you guys all the coverage that you deserve and to just get this football season going. It's always so bittersweet because I love summer. I wait for it all year. And then the end of it brings football, which is really the only saving grace of the fall. I'm sorry for anybody who likes to see the colors change or likes to go pumpkin picking or whatever else you do in the fall. Yeah. But football is the only thing that makes fall worthwhile for me. So.
Oh, trust me, man. I'm very upset because I have 2, I think maybe 3 fall weddings I'm looking at. And I'm like, dude, what are we doing? Like, stop.
Unfortunately, I have one as well. I will miss the Washington game for my brother's wedding.
That's the blackout too, I think, right?
I know. It's Friday night too. But at least I get to watch it. Whereas if it was on Saturday, still, I wouldn't even be able to watch the game live. So,
well, it's a kick in the nuts. I got a rehearsal dinner Thursday, August 20, whatever it is. The Howard
Oh,
game.
the
Yeah.
Howard game.
And I'm
Oh,
like, I'm in the wedding, and I'm like, he's like, yo, like my buddy was telling me, he's like, you're my number two, because like my brother's wife might be having a kid like the week before, and I don't know if he's gonna be able to make it. I'm like, no, dude, like I don't even want to go.
oh my God. So you might have
Like,
to have like a backup best man
I,
speech.
yeah, you don't want to
Oh
hear
man.
that. That could be bad. But yeah, the 25th, or not 25th, 28th, 29th, whatever the hell it is. I have rehearsal dinner, 29th. I have the rehearsal dinner that night, and I'm like, you kidding me? I'm like, come on, like. So I will
Brutal.
be watching from probably from my phone or from the bar at the place. So, but we will have you covered. We'll still have either Alec, Craig, or someone else there. So don't worry. The site will be running just as smoothly.
Yep, and we're still planning to do the post game live shows as well.
Maybe not
But
that one for me, but
well, not that one for you, but we're planning on having them still. We just got to
yes,
figure out
of course.
logistically who can make each game.
Yep.
But we're rambling now. Thank you once again for listening. The schedule's going to pick back up shortly with the pods, I'm sure. So we're planning on having a lot more guests this summer. We've already got a
Yes.
few lined up. So
Ooh, secret
that'll
guest.
be an exciting little wrinkle as well as well as some collaborations with some other Rutgers related folks. So stay
Yep.
tuned to that. But for me and Richie, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.